Thank you so much. Thanks for the great introduction. And as always, I'm so excited to be here and present. So let me share my screen first and we can get started. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Cool. So yeah, hello again. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, gratitude for all your time. So this is the third webinar in our data science career development series. The topic that I'll be covering today is modernize your AI powered application using open source tools and OpenShift, of course. So I want to make this a little fun, right? So I don't want to just go with a regular way of presentation where we talk about concepts, where we talk about, you know, uh, tools and technology and on a more serious note, right? Rather, let's make it a little fun here. So we'll understand these concepts through a story of a chief data scientist, Dolores. So I learned the modernization concepts by building these stories for myself. And I thought I can share my way of learning with you all. Hopefully, this will be helpful for you, right, in your learning process as well to understand different way of app modernization using AI. So let's get started. Before I'm Sai Shruti Swaminathan, I work as advisory data scientist in AI strategy and innovation team at IBM. So let's get into a story. Dolores is our chief data scientist who wants to champion digital transformation, embrace agile way of working, optimize business operating model with hybrid cloud strategy to derive cost efficiency. She wants to increase productivity and innovation opportunities. And she would like to have more architectural flexibility in the application and use technologies like AI to modernize her application for improved return on investment and get our application fast into the market, right? So this is what our chief data scientist Dolores is looking for. So she started contemplating about her needs, right? What she needs to do to achieve what she wants. All these pointers that I mentioned before, what she needs to do to reach there, right? So on contemplating about her needs, she decided to modernize her application. She decided to go with the route of modernization, right? So what is this app modernization? What it really means? App modernization can quickly develop, uh, basically means quickly developing and delivering new application and services through adoption of a cloud native architecture, containerization, and AI accelerators. So these concepts really help her quickly develop and deliver this new application. And what the components that she will need to use is the cloud native architecture, containerization, AI accelerators. And delivery of these services and application are accelerated by adopting DevOps best practices. And we can automate the deployment in hybrid multi-cloud environment. So this is what she decided to do. She thought about the process, she thought about her app modernization and decided to go with containers AI route. So let's take a moment to pass our story here and learn some terms in case some of you are not familiar with it. So before moving forward, if you see in webinar 1 and webinar 2, we covered basics of data science and we covered some of the tools that will help you, how to build your model and add a component of ethical AI design to it. And now we are shifting into the modernization using AI and the containers concept. So that's the core of this webinar. So yeah, let's understand some terms here. First is microservice, right? So what is this microservice? The one on the left to the screen is a representation of it. Microservices are both an architecture and an approach to writing a software. So you basically take your application and break it into small components that can function independent from each other. Right? So instead of a traditional monolithic approach to app, where everything is built into a single piece, microservices are all separated and they all work together to accomplish the same task. So each of these components or process is called microservice. On the left, you can see we have two, you know, diagrams here. One is a monolithic, other is a microservice. Let's take the UI component alone. So this UI component is split into 4 microservices. And on the top, you can see the one microservice is shared by 2 other microservices, and they all work independent from each other. So this approach of software development values granularity, being lightweight, and they have the ability to share process across multiple apps. It's a major component of optimizing your application development and a step towards your cloud native model. So on the right is the container concept, right? The core is the container concept. So what does it mean? Like, what is a container? Container is nothing but is a way of packaging an application, and we don't really have to worry about where we are going to run it. That's all, right? As long as we give the container a runtime, it is going to run anywhere. So it's a way of packaging the application, and all we need to provide is a runtime. And it has 2 core concepts. One is the namespace, and other is C group. I don't want to complicate more. I'll just give a high level overview of what namespace and C group are. So when we talk about container, we all imagine it like a nice box, right? That's alone, that's contained, it's within itself, and it can work, right? But in reality, all they are is this Linux namespace. So when you're running a container, you are actually running a process, and you're telling it to use a unique namespace for each of it, and it appears as if it's the only thing that's running. So containers are still running in your host operating system, and it looks like it's the only thing running inside, but from outside your host sees it as a regular process. So next is a C group. We give containers some resource, some priority and control. For example, how much resource this process can take. Right? So this is the C group concept. So the namespace and C group combined we get is a container. To run a container, we need a runtime. For example, Docker, there are many others too. So this will be the base, right? This will be the base of our app modernization. Now we know the terms microservice and container. Let's get back to our story. So we have a chief data scientist who wants to modernize her application, and she decided to go with the route of containers and AI. Let's get back to the story. So the Dolores, our architect, is ready for the modernization journey and approaches IBM. So modernizing the application release her move to the cloud without compromising on any of the technology. It will let her capitalize on scalability, flexibility, and it will increase organization productivity and integration. So as a first step, Dolores will go through the application readiness assessment. What it means. Let's say you have an application in your traditional architecture and you want to modernize it. Let's take the first step. In this, you will have a team who will help you identify the app, the part of your app that can readily be moved to cloud, and those require refactoring, right? Refactor in the sense you need to split into multiple small independent component that can function with each other, that can function independent from each other. So you'll have a team who's going to assess your application and see, is it ready to move to the cloud, or does it require any major refactoring, right? So then let's say you need some refactoring, then containers are leveraged as a foundation for the application and services. And we follow up with setting up a DevOps pipeline for automatic deployments. Finally, we manage and run the application. So we take the traditional application, split into components, make sure they can function independent from each other, but they can also talk with each other. And then we follow up the DevOps pipeline to automate the deployment. Finally, we manage and run the application. So this is the flow that we are going to see today. Let's say, for example, our customer wants to modernize her customer feedback analysis application. So she wants to analyze the feedback that she's getting from her customer, and she wants to infuse AI to it because she's going to get a lot of unstructured data, text data, the review text, which she wants to leverage than going with the traditional way of analysis. So she trained a sentiment analysis model and provided REST API access to the model and created it as microservice and decided to deploy on OpenShift. Then she goes back and she can improve the current code base to use the deployed model endpoint. By this, she is infusing AI to the application. Imagine the traditional application or the application without the modernization doesn't use AI. It's a manual process of understanding customer review. Now we are taking a step forward. We are creating a model that can analyze the sentiment. And once we create a model that can analyze the review text, we kind of containerize it. We create it as a microservice. We provide an API endpoint to it through which we can connect the model and get the prediction. And once we have the endpoint, we go back to our traditional application, make the code change to use the AI model, and we deploy it on OpenShift. So that's the flow that we are going to see today. So let's understand a bit more about OpenShift and Kubernetes world. While containers are a good way to bundle and run your application, but in actual production environment, we need a way to manage this container, right? We want to ensure that it runs without, there is no downtime, and it runs without any issue. And that's when we get into concept of OpenShift and Kubernetes. OpenShift is built on top of Kubernetes, and it's often called as managed version of Kubernetes. So think Kubernetes as an engine and OpenShift as a car, right? So OpenShift includes core Kubernetes component along with some essential features that are missing in Kubernetes. So with OpenShift, you can create longer lifecycle, increase maintainability, stability of your application. And your application developed on OpenShift platform can run on different platform, vendors, cloud providers, or run on-prem. So other differentiators are, it can handle multi-tenancy, automate environment setup, provide consistent way of deploying application, and secure image scanning. Like you'll have your Docker images, right? So it makes sure you have a secure image scanning. The images are secure in your registry, in your deployment. At every single instance, there is security check, health check, and you can easily scale your application, easily scale down, and so on. So there's a lot of feature that you can easily do using OpenShift. So we are going to see everything in action, but I'm going to give this like I think this is a high level overview. So let's gently get into our demo, right? So I'm going to code and show you all how these things work. So as a first step, our customer wants to combine the power of open source and OpenShift, right? So we start from this open source framework called Max Framework and Max Skeleton to provide REST API to the model, right? Imagine you have a model right now and you want to provide REST API to it and then create it as a microservice. That's the first step. So I'm going to introduce you all to two concepts or two framework. One is the Max Framework, other is Max Skeleton. So the Max Framework here is a pip installable Python library. It's a wrapper around Flask. You have a way to add your pre-processing, prediction, and post-processing code of your model. And then comes the Max Skeleton. So it imports Max framework and it contains other component where you can create it as a microservice. So you can visualize it like this. Max framework is the core of your Max skeleton, and your Max skeleton is going to add your Docker deployment options, continuous integration options around it. So it gives like a good package, right? When after you create your model, you can directly use this framework to create it as a microservice. And this is how the Max framework works. Here you have an option to add your model pre-processing code, prediction code, and post-processing code. And if you see Max skeleton, you can have, you can see different, you can see other components that we provide the starter code for you to add continuous integration components for it to easily deploy your model as a microservice. So I'm going to just show you all Max framework and skeleton. So this is the Max framework. Let me add the link in a chat. This is a link to Max framework. As you can see, you have an option to add your model code, like pre-processing, post-processing, and prediction code. Let's go to Max skeleton. You can see we have an option to add a Docker file. We have test facility. You have an option to, easily deploy a model on Kubernetes. And I'll get into OpenShift at the end. So, and you have step-by-step guide how you can use the skeleton to, wrap your model as a microservice. Let me post this in our chat. So now we know about the two components that we need to get started, which is to provide REST API endpoint to our model. So we need 6 steps to do this. First, we need to use the Max skeleton. We need to click on use this template, log into your GitHub, use this, click on use this template, and then clone the new repository. I will show you, but let's go through the process. Then we need to, let's say you have trained your model, right? Once you train your model, you will have your trained model files, model weights. It's important that we store in a location from where we can download. So the next requirement is to have location or path to your trained model files. We will update that in the Docker file. And the third step we'll do is to run your Python code, for example, we'll need some certain Python packages. We need to add them to the requirements file. And fourth is adding metadata about the model. Metadata, you can customize your metadata. For example, ID, what is the source code, what it does, domain, maybe optimal or poor condition or so on, right? Whatever metadata you need to add, you can update it. Fifth is we need to add all the code. We need to update the script. So these are the 5 steps that we need. It's pretty simple. Once we update these 5, set of code, and you can easily build the model. You can easily build your Docker image. So let's see the code in action. Before that, so this is the Max skeleton, right? So you can click on use this template. You can use the skeleton as a template for you to build your own model as a microservice. You can give your repository name. So I'm going to give description. So let's create it. Okay, so we can directly use the git clone, can copy here, and then we can clone the repository. I have already, cloned it in my system, and I have them uh, in a local machine. So let me directly go and use that terminal here. And this is the code. So I have my I have my code here. I have my terminal open. And first, let's walk through the demo part. Like, what are we going to see today? Right? Sorry, the screens have been messed up a bit. Yes. So the demo that we are going to see today is Fashion MNIST. You might think like we have been talking about sentiment model and we're getting into the Fashion MNIST part. The reason is I want to make sure we understand the concept, we understand how to use the tools, than getting into a complicated BERT model or getting into complicated NLP model, right? So with this example, let's understand how to use the Max framework and Max skeleton. At the end, we will connect back to our story. So in the demo, our goal is to classify fashion and clothing items. So this is how our data set will look like. So we're going to classify each and every image. If you are in data science, the basic data set for us to experiment with our deep learning concept. So Fashion MNIST data set. And I'm getting this data set from our Data Asset Exchange project. So the framework that I'm using here is TensorFlow framework. And these are the 10 items that I have in my data set that I would like to detect. From t-shirt till ankle boot. So let's start from the first step. First, we need to make sure we have Docker installed. We have our Python code editors. We have location of our pre-trained model weights. Let's say you have trained your model and stored your model weights in cloud object storage. Make sure you have link from where you can download it, and list of required Python package, your input pre-processing code, your inference code, and your output post-processing code. The first step, we are done with the first step. We logged into GitHub. We clicked on use this template in Max skeleton, and we have cloned our repository. So if you don't have GitHub account, you can directly use the command here. Let me post this link so that you can follow along. So you can use this link to just directly clone. The first step is to make sure we update the Docker file model, pre-trained model weights, right? We want to provide link to the location where we have our pre-trained model weights. So we have two arguments in your Docker file. One is model bucket, other is model file. Model bucket is linked to the public storage, and model file is the name of the file that you need to download from the location, right? So for the purpose of demo, I have uploaded the train model files to the repository itself. So I'm not updating this. I have commented out. If you see the code, I have commented out. I have removed that the download part. But if you get into the actual, if you have your model trained weights in a cloud object storage, it's important that you provide these two arguments. So once I update the Docker file, next step is updating the package requirement. We need to get a list of Python packages required to run the the scripts. So these are the 4 packages that I require. So I go to the requirements.txt file, and then you can add your packages required to run your scripts. The third step is updating the model metadata, right? So you need to update 2 scripts in the template. So what is this model metadata really about? Like, how does it look like? So let's see. So this is our final result. This is our final expected result. If you click on this, you will have model/model metadata, right? So this is what you know, I mean, like when I say about metadata, for example, this is completely customizable. You can add whichever metadata you would like to expose about your model. So here I have ID, name, description, type, source, and license, and also the name and also the description. These are the metadata that we are going to add as a next step. So we open the config.py script. As you can see here, I have updated my application title. I have updated my application description and application version and provided link to my model file. So these are like model metadata. For example, my model is going to return in numbers, right? But I want to make sure I understand those number mapping. For example, if a model returns 3 as a result, it indicates dress, right? I have it as a variable that I'll be using in the code, but the three, with respect to metadata, these are the 3 main variables that we need to update: API title, API description, and API version. And default model path, like where I can find my model. I have mentioned before, for the purpose of demo, I'm storing in my own GitHub repository. So I'm providing link to my train model, path to my train model. And the next is about the model metadata. We get into the core folder. You can open the model.py file and you can update this model metadata. What is the ID? What is the name of the model? Description, type, source, and license. These are the metadata that I wish to expose about my model. If you want to add more, you can anytime add more. It's going to come up in our Swagger UI. So we are done with the metadata update part. Let's just review. First, we updated the Docker file. Next, we updated the requirements file. Then we updated the model metadata. Now we are into the inference code update. We need to update our pre-processing, inference code, and post-processing code, right? So the first step is to load your model. Now we know where we need to download the model. And the next step is to load your model. I'm using the TensorFlow Keras model function to load my model. I have provided the path before, which is the default model path that we saw in our previous step. Please don't get confused if it's quick, if it's fast. This is a recorded session. I'm available on LinkedIn if you have question on how to update these scripts. But I'm giving you a high level, like quick demo of how I created this as a microservice in like 5 steps, right? And then I added my pre-processing code. Here, once I give my input image, it's going to read. It's going to pre-process in a way that my model can understand. And then I'm adding my prediction code here. So it's going to load. Now we have loaded our model. Now we need to, use our loaded model to predict our input, right? So that's the code I'm adding here. And this is the post-processing code. So we typically would like to, create an output in the format of JSON. And the key will be the probability and prediction. And I'm having the corresponding value as my, the predicted clothing item and its predicted probability, right? So I added my pre-processing, prediction, and post-processing code. That's all I need to do, right? I need to update my Docker file. I need to update my package requirement file. I need to update my model metadata, and then go to this model.py script inside the core folder and update my pre-processing, prediction, and post-processing code. So once I'm done with that, I can get started with building my Docker image. So you can use Docker build and you can give the tag whichever you want. Here I'm having as max image. And once I build the image, I can run my microservice. So it's running in my localhost port 5000. Let's go there. Yes. So in this 5-step, using our framework and our Max skeleton, we'll be able to add REST API endpoint to your model and create it as a microservice. And if you want to view a microservice, you have Swagger UI on top of it that you can view. You can click on model/metadata here. Click on try it out. Click on execute. And you can see all the metadata we have added, right? ID, name, description, type, source, and license. So this is the model metadata. And the actual, core of our UI or actual core is or how our model predicts it. That's what we want to see. So this is our model predict endpoint. Click on try it out. Click on choose the file. Click any sample file that you want. Click on execute. It's going to return the result in JSON format, as I've mentioned before, so that it's easy for you to access if you want to programmatically, get the result, hit the API, and then process the output, right? So it's easy in this format. So you can see the prediction under the into the prediction, it's a list with dictionary, and dictionary keys are prediction and probability, and we have the predicted clothing item as dress. So this is how we can, in 5 steps, you can use the Max framework and skeleton to provide REST API to your model and create it as a microservice. Let's go back to our presentation. So now that we know how to, how to technically take your model and create it as a microservice, the next step, if you remember the flow we saw before, let's go back to the flow diagram. Now we are done with REST API part, right? The next step is to deploy your microservice. Again, there are 2 ways of doing it. In open source way, you can use Kubernetes. And if you want in a more enterprise, managed version of Kubernetes, you can use OpenShift, right? So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to show you all OpenShift version because it's easy, it's simple. You can eliminate even like 2 steps that you saw before and directly deploy your model as a you can deploy your microservice in just few minutes, I would say. Also, if you want to go in the Kubernetes route, I have steps that you can follow in my GitHub repository. The steps that you can follow to deploy the microservice in Kubernetes. But in this demo, we are going to see the OpenShift version. So the concept that we are going to see for OpenShift deployment is source to image. What it basically does is it's going to take your source code. It's going to create Docker image based on the source code that you provided, and it's going to deploy on OpenShift. It's simple, it's easy, right? You don't have to really worry about updating the Docker file. You don't have to worry about creating, okay, how do I write the Docker file? You need to understand the syntax, command, and so on, right? You don't have to worry about anything. Just have your source code and add like some components on top of it that I'll show you. It's pretty simple. Just need to add one folder so that the source to image engine knows which script to run when the application is deployed. So it produces ready to run Docker image by injecting the source code into a container image. and it will let the container prepare that source code for execution, right? So as you can see on screen, it takes the code, and then from the image registry, it will take a builder image. It will analyze your code and selects which builder image will be suitable for it. By builder image, I mean, is it a Python code, it's a Node code, or which language the code is written, right? Based on the programming language it's written, it's going to pick the builder image, and it's going to use a source to image concept to create the Docker image and the application container for you, and then it's going to deploy on OpenShift. By this process, using this process, you're going to completely eliminate the first step, the second step here, which is updating a model file, or which is updating your Docker file, I would say. You don't need to write your Docker file. So let's see it in action. Most of the OpenShift are, charged, but if you really want to try, if you really want to get an experience of using OpenShift, I would recommend using the developer sandbox. I'm using it. You can click on, let me post the chat. Let me post in chat. So this is the developer sandbox, which is available for free. All you need is a Red Hat account. So once you have account, you can click on, get this started, and it's going to work. It's just 2 steps. You will have your OpenShift sandbox environment ready, and you can just go and test the GitHub code that I have if you want to see how it all works, right? So I'm running the sandbox environment here. So this is how it will look like. Yes, this is there are 2 views. One is the administrator view, and other is the developer view. For this, demo purpose, we are just going to see developer view because this is one tutorial by itself. I don't want to complicate more. So let's see the developer view here. All you need to do is click on from Git, and let's go to GitHub first. I'm going to change my branch to master because this is where I have my code for source to image. Can you see the difference here? So this is my Max code where I have to write, Travis file, I need to write my Docker file, I need to have my Kubernetes deployment YAML file, and so on, right? Here I have only my code. I don't have anything. I don't have anything, any other components attached. I just have my source code. And there is a folder called, I need to add a folder called .s2i, which indicates source to image. And I created an environment file, which will tell, which app to run, right? By default, it runs your app.py file. So let's see it in action. So once you register through developer sandbox, this is how it will look like. And I'm going to just take the link to my GitHub where I have my source code of the application. Put it here. And it will automatically detect your builder image, right? As I have mentioned before, you have 10 default builder image based on the language that you have written your code. So it has automatically detected it as Python, and you can choose your builder version, image version, and what name you want to give. So I can provide name to my application, and I can let other option as default because this is the step 1. If you want to go for advanced option, you can do it, but let's know the basics first. And it's going to start the deployment process, right? It's going to create the Docker file for you. It's going to create the Docker image for you, put it in the image registry, and it's going to deploy the application. Everything will be done by the OpenShift itself. You don't need to really care about adding all the auxiliary components to it that we saw when we were working with the Max framework, right? You can use the Max framework and skeleton to provide REST API. Once you provide a REST API, you can use this developer sandbox or OpenShift to experiment or understand how the deployment works. It's going to take a few minutes because it's going to build your, this is the view logs. It's going to build your Docker file for you. So let's go to the, I have already, deployed the application. You can just click on open URL. So if it's green color, it means the build is complete and your application is ready. You can click on this open URL on the top and you're going to get the similar UI again. It's going to have the same metadata. You can click on execute to get your metadata. Now your microservice is deployed, right? So that's the difference. Before you are viewing it from your local machine, now it's deployed. You can test the model. There's a question here. Is a Sandbox OpenShift website free to use or need to pay? It's free to use. All we need is login, email. It's going to ask you for a email ID and password. Once you provide, you need to verify your email and it's free to use. Most of the OpenShift that's available are paid versions. So I really want to give you all a free version to test out this basic deployment tutorial. So yeah, so let's click on execute. It's a prediction. Again, it's the same, right? You can see the prediction result and probability. It's pretty similar to what we saw before, but now your application is actually deployed. So getting back to our story again, we really need to focus on the sentiment analysis, right? Again, I have deployed the sentiment analysis model here. It's the same. You can click on try it out. If you want to know from where I got the model, it's available here. I'm going to post link to the source from where I actually picked up the model. So here it is. Oh, sorry, I think so you can view the model here and you can follow the same process that I have that I went through to deploy your text, sentiment analysis model as well. And now, yeah, it's ready, right? So that's a story that I wanted to cover today. So your application is ready, your application is deployed, and this is the dollar's journey to modernize the application, right? So we started with the theoretical concept of containers microservice. First, we know why we need to modernize our application and what is the best way to modernize your application. If it's a traditional monolithic application, we take and split it into multiple components that are independent from each other, but they can work with each other. And it's called microservice. And we quickly went through how to wrap your model and create it as a microservice using Max Skeleton and Max framework. And once you create it as a microservice, you can now use either Kubernetes concept or OpenShift concept to deploy your application. OpenShift is much more sophisticated when compared to Kubernetes. One other example or something that I really like that I can show you. If you click in your deployed application, you have an option to increase the instance, right? Now I have only one instance that's running. I can just directly come to my OpenShift UI and then increase the count of my pod. And let's say you want to do some health check, if you want to add a health check, if you want to add some security component to it, it's pretty easy to do in OpenShift, and it provides a lot more features when compared to Kubernetes. So yeah, so that's the journey, or that's the story that I wanted to convey today. I hope it's useful for you all. And I guess there is a question here. Yes, we will have the recording. It will be available in the YouTube channel as mentioned at the beginning of the session. So I'll post in my LinkedIn as well, like once I have the recording. So is there any ML as part of this demo? So ML is still you create your model, right? So this fashion ML it's running TensorFlow model behind to take the input to create a prediction. But once you create your model, it's more of your DevOps concept that will come into picture. So if you want to know more about the ML part of it, I would suggest you go into the webinar 1 and 2 where we covered the ML part of it, and now we are getting into the app modernization part of it. I hope it answers your question. So OpenShift is also available, in all the cloud providers. It's not, specific to any cloud. You can take this and deploy anywhere. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope it's useful for you. I'm going to post all the links right away in case you want to take a look at the application code. So this is the GitHub I was referring. The master branch will walk through the OpenShift way. And if you go to the Max branch, it's going to walk you through the open source way by using all the Max component and Kubernetes way of deployment. I hope it's useful, and please feel free to let me know for questions. If you don't have now, I'm happy to answer once you go through the recording again and once you try it out by yourself. I can provide answers on LinkedIn as well.
Great, thanks. Do you have any other slides behind after this, or we can do some Q&As right now?
I'm done with my.
Okay, great. Yeah. So for the the attendees, if you have questions, feel free post in the chat, or if you prefer to speak, just raise a hand. We can unmute you to speak. We have a few minutes for the Q&A. So.
Also, I have split this complete tutorial into multiple small tutorials. I don't have links handy, but I can send it to you or post on my LinkedIn if you want to, take a deep dive into each approach and understand step by step.
That'd be good. I mean, you can share to me, and then I can share to the attendees.
Sure. Also, there's a question. Is it possible to have all the links sent out to all participants?
Yes, and I will combine the links. I think you sent quite a few in the chat, so I will combine them, send it to attendees in the post-event emails.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
And also, I will put the link in the YouTube videos in the comments, usually in the comments areas, so you can rewatch the videos along with those code examples. All right. Do we have any other last minute questions? If I have. Thanks, great, Aiden, and whoever to set post in the chat. Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining us.